well, you're gonna miss out on a good season 2. Well, you should have given me a good season 1, dick.
Yeah, right? Like, what? Like, why are you?
This is The Shit Take. Join me, Stellaby, and my co-host Arrow for the win as we cover everything from entertainment to current events. We hope to normalize the differing of opinions and keep an open attitude toward anyone who would like to share theirs. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's stoke some flames.
Oh man, what a journey! I swear to God.
I mean, from the very beginning, right? From the very beginning, we sat and we went over all the things that we thought were problematic. We have countless other things to base it off of, right? Like, and that's mostly what we're gonna do here in this video. Is we're kind of, I guess, comparing the things that came before it, and in our opinions, what really went wrong with those things, why those things weren't really well received, and the things that actually were well received.
It's taking, like you said, what's come before, what is the now, and then what's to come, because first and foremost, the show has been canceled. That is an absolute. Netflix announced it just the other day.
Yeah.
To cheers and jeers all over, but as much as that does matter and will be the primary focus of the video, it also does give us that look ahead, like what is to come in the in the future for Netflix and their anime adaptations, specifically those of One Piece and YuYu Hakusho. Like, are they going to take that step back and say, well, dang, people really didn't like this, and we thought we made all these very smart and clever creative changes that ended up very rightly so biting them in the ass, and now are we still going to go full steam ahead pushing out all these things? You've already announced the cast for One Piece, you can't take that back now.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's already going to have just as much backlash as Cowboy Bebop's did. It's just are you still going to try and just go full steam ahead with what you've got planned on your docket, or are you going to actually take the time, pump the brakes, take that 5-10 minutes to say, okay, look, clearly something involved here didn't work. Do we change this? Knowing what has already been done in what supposedly was supposed to be a slam dunk for them, knockout, and according to writers, was already planned to have multiple seasons from the get-go. So they clearly lied about that. And, it's just crazy because, people like to think, and I've never understood this myself, when people say that like casting doesn't really impact or affect the series. Clearly it does, because if you can't even look the part, there's no way you're going to walk the part.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
there's that.
It's like skinning, right? Like, it's the skin, right? Like, it's the actual the visual. If the visual doesn't match the visual that we're used to seeing, or that we know and love, it's always going to be this this small part of us that's just like, you know what, it's not really that well. I can't see this person as this role. So I mean, yeah, I've never understood people thinking casting's not an important thing, and just as long as the writing is good, then the show will be good. Sometimes, the writing can be the best thing ever. If somebody's in the role that just, cannot play the part, it's not going to be believable for the people who know and love the series, or the people who know and love the story. It might not even be believable for the people who are, watching it completely fresh. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why that has to be said, but it's definitely something that I guess needs to be said.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you think about method acting, character acting, something like that. It's usually those people who will change their body. They will go through drastic weight loss or this and that. Changing their haircut, their style, what they are, to become that character, to literally put themselves in those shoes. And now we literally have like this generation of actors and actresses who are just like, oh, I'm fine just the way I am, doesn't matter, I can play the role. And it's just like, dude, like, you're claiming to go through these extensive, casting, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and they just stood out as the role. And it's just like, please show me that. Show me the tape where they, put on this amazing audition. Like, was there really nobody else? And there's the expression, the clothes make the man, and it's just it never becomes more prevalent than right now.
And
It's
another
just
thing, right? Like, just the whole idea, the whole concept of typecasting, it wouldn't exist if people couldn't be casted in properly. Like, typecasting exists because some people just are made for certain roles, you know? And whether that's right or wrong, you know, there's a reason why you keep seeing Seth Rogen in all these different, you know, stoner movies where he plays basically the same fucking character every single time.
exactly.
That's basically it, you know? Even whenever he's doing his more serious
Serious.
roles,
Yeah.
they're still the same shit, you know.
Even
There's
as
not really
Steve
much difference
Jobs.
to it.
Yeah. And
Props
see,
to
that's the
Jonah Hill
thing.
though, because Jonah Hill took a huge leap into a different direction, and he fucking nailed it. But that
Yeah.
just goes to show that Jonah Hill, while being typecasted earlier in his career, is one of those scenarios, one of those examples that, you know, somebody, you know, could necessarily be typecasted but shouldn't be. He's actually a lot more or a lot better of an actor than he seems. Sorry, my fucking camera's shaking.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know why it needs to be said, but
Jonah Hill from Moneyball.
apparently it does need
Yeah.
to be said.
No, it's crazy. And see, the thing is, with the whole typecasting, it's just like I feel like it only has negative impact if you make it that way. Because if you think about somebody like even Denzel Washington, you know, one of the greatest actors of his generation or any generation really, and a lot of his later roles have been about basically the same type of character. You know, it's like ex spy, ex detective, ex, you know, so and so badass.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like you're playing the same role over and over again. And a lot of characters are like that. I'm not just singling out Denzel. You know, look at Jason Statham or how even Nick Cage for a while was just in those like, you know, straight to DVD action type roles. But it's like it doesn't mean it's bad. Like if you find success through that, like if you are what you are and you can act in the role that you are, like there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, even freaking Willy's Wonderland was like almost zero dialogue from him at all,
Yeah.
and it was still like a really the way that he performed in the movie was great. So I mean, just
I don't want to get it wrong though. You know, I posted on Twitter the day that they announced that the show had been canceled. It doesn't make, for us at least. I know there's a lot of channels out there that, you know, come at it with a lot of vitriol, but the truth is, it doesn't make us happy. It doesn't make us happy to see something like this fail. All that we did was see it and guess that it was going to be bad, and you know, our opinions didn't change after we watched the fact. You know what I mean? But we're not
Absolutely not.
happy to see this, because what this means is, I mean, it's definitely a fucking red notice to anybody working on Yu Yu Hakusho and One Piece.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're even touching One Piece. Like, don't get me wrong, One Piece is fucking amazing. But why would you want to fucking try and adapt a 1,000 episode anime into a series on Netflix that doesn't allow series to go past a few seasons? Like, what the fuck are
Yeah.
you thinking?
like, are you trying to say that you're going to be the difference with the like the colossal amount of corners you're going to have to cut, like
Oh my god,
characters
that
probably
one's
not
almost
being introduced?
guaranteed to be like a failure, and you know, it's unfortunate, and
Yeah.
and again, we're not basing it on anything, because there's obviously, I mean, if anything, right, we have the one set of just cast, and some of the cast actually looks really good, you know.
Yeah.
But we're not really basing it on anything other than, you know, that fact. But it's a monumental undertaking. It's
Yeah. See,
It's
that's the
bad.
thing. Yeah, that's the thing too with like the cast. Like, oh, why are you judging it based on the cast? It's like, what the hell else do we have to base it on?
Yeah.
Like, there is the product that we already know exists, that has had the anime, that has the manga, the freaking stage plays, the movies. That's been so much, and then you're saying, oh, this is the adaptation. This is all we have. Like, okay, like show me something else then. Like, what else am I supposed to
Yeah.
base it on? And like you said, like Cowboy Bebop failing, it sucks. It's a heartbreaker. Like if this was 10 years ago, man, like if somebody was saying, "Oh, they're gonna make a live action Cowboy Bebop," people would have been psyched for this. They would have been excited. They would have been ready. And
They
you know,
were.
then yeah, like, oh my god, dude, like,
we
do you
were
wanna-
excited because it was gonna happen.
It's crazy that like everyone thinks that like this hate or this vile is coming from like this negative space, or it's like, oh, America's Canada, you know, this and that. Like, dude, have y'all seen what Japan is saying about this? Like, they were blowing up on that cancellation. The people who saw it, and it just the fandom over there, man. It's just like, no, it wasn't good. It didn't look like it. They came after everything from the writing to the effects to the cast. Like, it's not just this singularized, like, you know, minority opinion in the West. Like, dude, Japan thought it was awful, and they kept on coming up with the same things over and over again. It was one, why did you adapt this at all? And two, if you were gonna adapt it, why didn't you use Keanu Reeves? And that seemed to be like the standard
Yeah,
opinion.
those are
Keanu
two
Reeves,
ones that I saw the most.
yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, like this was something that was in talks for the longest time. It just never got off the ground until this person, to my knowledge, just didn't have any really background in this sort of thing, and then just, I mean, they took the ball and ran with it in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
Like, you could ignore the casting to the point and say, oh, so and so's performance is great, and that's fine. But they tried so hard to give like every single person like the platform to just say whatever they want during the show, and they changed so much stuff
Yeah.
and characters that were completely unnecessary. And those ones that were relevant to the episode were often forgotten because of it, and it just became this just train wreck. Like I said, I personally was just trying to stay up just to finish it so I could finally sit back and process everything.
Yeah.
It was tough. And just what I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the thing that confuses me the most is the whole hater thing, right? I don't understand I don't understand the what's the word I'm looking for, the direction that these people are coming from, saying that
Yeah,
it
hater
is the
mentality.
haters that got this canceled. Rest assured, if Netflix is making money off of it, and they know that it's going to make money, and they know that it's getting the watch hours, it's getting the traffic that it needs to warrant a second season, they would have come out and said that it's getting a season 2 rather than it's canceled.
Absolutely.
So if you
Dude.
think for a second that it was canceled because of the haters, then that means one of two things, right? You're giving these YouTube reviewers and YouTube channels so much power, right? And you're giving these reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, whatever, right? Like, the people who are coming at this from a super negative point of view, so much power that you're actually saying that they're the ones, right? And by effect, right? Like us, because we're here doing the same thing, right? We, as in the YouTubers, are sitting here canceling shows on Netflix. Get the fuck out of here. Are you really coming at these content creators trying to fucking say that? Are you really saying that? Or are you not so silly that you can't tell that your show just fucking ran one of the best animated pieces of fiction of all time straight into the fucking dirt?
Yeah, no, it's crazy to believe. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure, like, if you were talking about like a bigger channel with multi-million views and hundreds of millions, if not billions, of of views and subscribers, but it's just like, dude, like it's a lot of like the smaller animated channels that are really saying their piece and on of it, and it's crazy to believe that, like, yeah, you're thinking they're holding this much power to sway the the corporate giants that is Netflix and the Amazon Primes and the Hulus. Like, think about it. One of the most popular things of all time on Netflix is Tiger King. It's probably
Yeah.
like the dumbest documentary I've ever seen in my life,
So
and it's
dumb.
stupid. It's ridiculous, and they just gave it a season 2. But they were like, oh, you guys are gonna recycle basically 85% of the same footage, with splicing with some phone calls from jail,
Yeah,
and
dude.
call it a new product, and people still ate it up. Think about that crap. And then there's the stuff that literally Netflix saved, with like Lucifer canceled by Fox, or even Cobra Kai that was canceled by
Yeah.
YouTube. And they brought it that, and almost immediately renewed it for a season 4, and they've already confirmed a season 5 when season 4 hasn't even come out yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the stuff. Like, if Netflix wants to give you another season, they will give you another season. They will say it as soon as they possibly can to keep that interest, to keep that thrive going on. And don't get me wrong, I love Cobra Kai. It's fun. It's a great love letter to Karate Kid. But they put the teen drama splash on it. It's very much like something you'd see on a network soap opera aimed at teens. But the thing is, like, they understand that point in which it is going to sell to the mass audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Cowboy Bebop just dropped the ball. They didn't understand that. They didn't even try to reel in, like, and oh, let's bring in fans to watch it, and then the other people, maybe people who hadn't seen it before, they'll stay too. But they didn't even do that first step. So
Yeah.
you're left stuck with a general audience who probably just didn't like it or didn't get it. I know a lot of comments kept on, oh, I just didn't get it. I didn't get the direction. And that's fine. If there's something you've never seen before and you're going in there blind, there's going to be a lot of those like, well, I just don't understand what's going on moments. Why is this character doing this and that? But then you couple that with just really unbelievably, and I see unbelievable acting, because it was just really hard to just
And poor
like
decision making
no.
in general. It's
I
poor
don't know,
decision
man.
making throughout the entire process. Like from all of the changes, and again, if there was a change that could be made, the change was made.
Yeah.
It's that, and I'm not even exaggerating. If you haven't seen this, I'm telling you, if you watch it, you're gonna notice the same shit I'm saying. Is every single thing that could have been changed was changed, and that takes active decision making. That is somebody actively going in there and saying, no, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to do it this way. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you go through so much effort to change every single thing about its identity and then complain when everyone says it doesn't feel like Cowboy Bebop?
It wasn't like, imagine the
What the
storyboarding
fuck?
process. Imagine the storyboarding process to that. Like the writers in the room and just like, oh, we've got the music director from the anime. We're gonna remix the opening track a little bit. We're getting the blessing of Shinichiro Watanabe, and I honestly believe, correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody down in the comments, feel free to. But I don't believe that he saw that finished product whatsoever and gave
No,
us
didn't he?
like stamp of
He
approval.
didn't he unattach himself like a year or so before
I
it
think
actually even
so.
came out?
Yeah. And see, that's the crazy thing is the crazy thing that you mentioned him unattaching himself. That's exactly the same thing that the creators of Avatar did with like the Netflix live action thing, and that's another one I add to the pile. Like apparently creative differences were so bad that they both left the project. So I'm honestly like already just so disinterested in what that could be, because it's probably going to be like this. Everything that could be changed is going to be changed.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy to me, thinking like something that is so like iconic to, whether it's a generation of teens that are now adults, or even children, because Avatar came out like 2004.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you have something that is cherished, that is enough of a winner, if you want to call it that, just make it work. Just make it work. And it seems like they have such a difficult time understanding that, and I really don't get it.
Yeah, and the worst part about it, right? The thing that is most unforgivable for me is they had the absolute best lesson possible in Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you make a show where every character has the name of the characters they're supposed to be, but nothing else is the same. Everyone tends to hate it. And it ends up being bad, right? Because I don't know the reason why it worked, right? Because the thing for me, right, is a lot of anime are already hard to watch, especially for a lot of folks who are new to the genre.
Yeah.
You find them watching stuff like Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. You'll see them watching stuff like Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what
considered the
Dragon Ball
mainstream.
Z is. Yeah, exactly. That's the mainstream. Everyone knows what Dragon Ball Z is, but find someone who watches like Overlord,
Yeah.
or someone who watches something like like Mushishi, or just something
Yeah.
that's a lot lower on that scale.
Yeah.
And you're gonna find somebody who's a lot more open to the stories being a particular kind of way. For some reason, the mainstream anime, it gets away with a lot of it because the stories are delivered in a way that are easy for people to understand. It's badass action and badass guys who can power up and beat the shit out of other badass guys, right?
Exactly.
Who can't understand that?
Yeah.
Who can't understand that?
How much difference is it than like a Hollywood movie? Actions, explosions, Michael Bay, do it.
Exactly. So that, with Dragon Ball specifically, it was super popular even to people who don't necessarily watch anime. So when it came out and it was completely different, more people were upset because people understood what Dragon Ball Z was and what Dragon Ball was. So yeah, I can understand Dragon Ball with with Cowboy Bebop. If it's a little bit different, I think Cowboy Bebop was not very popular comparatively.
Yeah.
In terms of like actual viewings, I would say it's nowhere near the top in terms of popularity, but that doesn't detract from its quality, not even a little bit. So maybe the subject matter in and of itself was already something that people find a little bit off-putting, and maybe that also did, something for the live action failing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get it. And see, the thing is, like, the plot isn't overly complicated. It's, bounty hunters in space. Like, it didn't need to be as ridiculous as they try to make it in there. But it's just like, you think about Dragon Ball Evolution, which again, if you don't know Dragon Ball, it's separated into different arcs based on, the time period of the characters. But Dragon Ball is like Goku as a kid up until like very, very young, adulthood. And
Yeah.
it's the simplest story to tell out of all of those. It's magic, it's adventures, it's finding Dragon Balls. And they turn it into like this really weird whitewashed Americanized Goku, like in high school, trying to impress Chi-Chi,
Yeah, like if
dancing on
it
the
had
roof of
come out
cars.
today, every single one of those actors would probably be like, totally canceled. It's that bad.
Yeah.
That
No,
that bad of a
absolutely.
whitewashing. It was really, really poorly done.
Yeah. It was just like, oh man, like mispronunciation of words and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, oh my God. Like, again, like you said, everything that could have been changed was changed, and it was just like the worst failing imaginable. And you think of like that titan of industry. Again, if you don't know anime and you understand Dragon Ball Z, if you've seen it, you're like, oh, well, guess what? That's an anime. But again, within that niche, Cowboy Bebop definitely would have fallen by the wayside with compared to something in Dragon Ball. But
Yeah.
still, just man, like you gotta learn, and you gotta learn that lesson. They just clearly ignored it.
And it's an ignoring. That's what it is. It's ignoring the lesson. It's not missing it. It's ignoring it, because
Yeah.
how can you possibly jump into something like this, right? This big, this on this level of a respectful anime, all that kind of stuff, right? How can you jump into a project without knowing that lesson?
Mhm.
Like, how can you do it? Especially, how can you be so confident doing it? And then I saw stuff like, one of the one that pissed me off. It was supposed to be bad, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not giving anybody credit at all for this fucking show. I'm not giving anybody credit. You're not going to sit there and tell me it was supposed to be bad, so job well done. No, fuck that. That's bullshit. It wasn't supposed to be bad. As if it was supposed to be bad, then they would have never been able to make the show. Simply put. They would have never teased Ed at the end for a... Man, that's like the most heartbreaking thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that little
Absolutely.
kid.
Yeah.
Introducing, and it's gone. Like,
Yeah.
literally South Park. Like, and it's gone.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have teased this little kid at the end of Ed,
Mm.
which is their, like, absolute knowing... Because that's the thing, right? That's the thing for me that was so, like, frustrating. Now that it has been canceled, I feel like that tease at the end was maybe we can get a season 2. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there was a little bit of like hesitancy, and so like throwing Ed at the end was like a last ditch effort at a season 2. Something like that, because that's how it starts. That's how it's feeling to me now.
Why else cast the person, right? Like, I get what you're trying to say, but I mean, I don't know. Now it's like all this information coming out that they planned multiple story arcs, this and that. But I mean,
It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't have that filmed until all of the fan criticism came back and threw her on at the last bit.
I
would
find
not
that
surprise me.
I would find that far more believable, because it wasn't like all right. Like, think about it this way: like, when you're in a show on a major network, you can always get that serious commitment. Like, okay, even I don't know if you ever watched Anger Management with Charlie Sheen.
Anger management, no.
Okay, well, it was like a spin-off based off of the movie, whatever. He was supposed to be playing the
Okay.
character, but like, this was fresh off of his firing of 2.5 Men, kind of like what was he doing around there, but still enough of a hot commodity that FX wanted him. They gave him a 1090 serious commitment, which, and I'd never heard of that at the time. I think maybe one other show's done it. Basically, the rules of syndication is if you get at least 100 episodes, you're qualified for syndication. They can shop you to other networks, and you basically get that revenue every year. So that means they finished filming 10 episodes and immediately did 90 more.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to me. Like,
That's Charlie
that's a
Sheen, man.
Yeah, it's guaranteed
Look,
syndication.
guy might be crazy, but everybody loves
Absolutely.
Charlie Sheen. He's one of my
Yes,
favorite actors ever. Like, I love
regardless
him.
of how you feel about him personally, yeah, the guy's acting talent is a real deal. So, as far as I'm
Hot shots,
concerned,
man. I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's all hot shots. I love hot shots.
oh, no, 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 and I see, I get it. Like, I understand what you're trying to say. So the thing is, to my knowledge, Netflix doesn't do anything like that. They don't give you like this guaranteed thing. It's a streaming service. If they're making money, blah blah blah, based on views, they'll renew you.
Yeah.
And there's a tons of stuff, especially in 2021, that has been like canceled. The chopping block of Netflix, and I don't believe that they ever felt like they were not above being canceling, and that to me is insane. And even one of my friends mentioned, he said that he saw it and he thought it was a parody series,
Yeah.
and I said I would have felt more comfortable watching it if I had known that, like if that's what they would apply itself as, but no,
Yeah.
it's just
It's pretty bad, but
it's crazy.
But we're not really here to talk about why it was bad, and if anything, we're wanting to just kind of discuss a couple things that we feel like, now that this has happened, should be taken a little bit more seriously, especially with like YuYu Hakusho and One Piece. You can sit there and tell me that you tried your absolute hardest to capture the heart and soul of Cowboy Bebop. You can tell me that, and that may have been the case, but I feel like you failed, me personally. But then you have other shows and other movies that, I don't know, like seemingly do it so easily and without even like any bit of effort whatsoever, right? Like Detective Pikachu. I watched the movie in theaters. I took my son to see it, and watching the movie, like from the very beginning, right, when they first show the Cubone crying in the field, and they show is the Bouffalant. Is that what they are? The Bouffalant?
This is the world of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like the narrator, like it made you feel like it was already an immersion happening from the very beginning of the credits, man. Like,
and I feel like part of what made that movie so good, right? Like, yes, the Pokemon were awesome to see, of course, obviously, but they didn't overdo it. And I know that's saying I know that seems like I'm saying a lot, right? Because they literally go to Rhyme City and there's Pokemon literally everywhere. But Pokemon are supposed to be literally everywhere.
It's
you know what I mean? Like in the Pokemon world,
yeah.
It's literally the Pokemon world. They're supposed to be kind of everywhere. If you watch if you watch the actual anime, they're everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are; they're everywhere. But what I mean is they don't harp too heavily on like a Pokemon itself, minus obviously Pikachu. But there's this little side story going on the entire movie, and they're sticking true to that story while fusing in all the different elements from the detective Pikachu part and everything else, right? Like they don't take it to that point. I feel like if there was ever one point in the entire movie that took it maybe a little bit too far, was when Ditto kept transforming, and that one little moment seemed a little bit silly to me. But I still kind of found it.
Why couldn't a Ditto do that, right?
Yeah, but I still kind of found it like maybe heavy on the fan service, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying. But like I don't know, man. Maybe that one spot.
And see, that's the thing. No, I get what you're trying to say. And see, this is where I would hammer that point more, because the fan service here was the bread and butter. Because you mentioned Cowboy Bebop not being able to eclipse Dragon Ball. Well, Pokemon definitely eclipses Dragon Ball. Like you can't even begin that argument. Like,
oh yeah, no,
it's a worldwide reach. So whenever you're saying like, oh, we're gonna throw in, if we're gonna throw in as many Pokemon as we can, like of course they're gonna eat it up, because at that point they don't care about the general audience whatsoever, because they can make that solely for fans, and fans will go and see this movie. And this is a spin-off game too. This isn't even a main Pokemon game. And even to make, I'll go even further with this, because as popular as Pokemon is, there is something that eclipses that, and that would be Mario. And here we have that initial fan, like I wouldn't even say backlash, it's more like bewilderment with the whole Chris Pratt thing voicing Mario. Who complained about Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu?
Nobody. I know why.
Exactly.
Because Ryan Reynolds is fucking awesome.
He it was just great. Like he delivered
If you
the
had to
role
put
so
Ryan
well.
Reynolds in the role of Spike Spiegel, I wouldn't have been complaining. I would have never complained, not even a little bit, right? Because you're putting one of the absolute fucking piggybacks of Hollywood in your show. It's going to
Yeah.
guarantee views. He might not have been the best Spike, and I'm
No.
not saying he would have been,
No.
but I would have understood it
Yeah.
in a way that is completely contradictory to John Cho. Don't get me wrong, John Cho is a big actor. I'm not taking anything from him. But if you're going to
No.
tell me he's on the same level of Ryan Reynolds,
Absolutely
Zac
not.
Efron,
Yeah.
Gary
Yeah.
Oldman, dude, you'd put Gary Oldman in the fucking role. I would have been like, holy shit, that's
I would have
that's
seen
a
Gary
strong
Oldman play-
actor.
I
I
would
don't
have seen
see
him
John
play-
Cho and think that's a strong actor.
No. I like if it was Jet, I would have loved Gary Oldman as Jet. That would have been badass. I'd be like, here you go, bring that
Oh yeah,
fucking
dude, that would have been.
bring that Detective Gordon charm to it. No, it's crazy too because like I feel like they tried so hard to not try and like reel in people with the whole star power thing, and then
Yeah.
they're like, and John Cho with Spike. And don't get me wrong, like I do enjoy John Cho, but a lot of his views for me personally have come from either stoner type flicks like American Pie or Harold and Kumar, obviously, or
Yeah.
more of the artistic stuff that he did in his mid to later career. So that's not something I think of when I think of John Cho. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
just it's crazy, man. But like Detective Pikachu managed to give you that, and I hate to use this phrase, the family fun that was accessible to kids and adults alike. It had the detective story, and that they were solving a mystery, and it did a really good job of blending that obvious CGI with the Pokemon and the live action. Again, there was less of a direct focus on it, but there were humans in the movie. That was the whole
Yeah.
point of the game. You know what I mean? Like we saw that.
It was their own
And-
little storyline taking place, and it wasn't like, oh, there's this Pokemon. You know what I mean? It wasn't like
Yeah.
they're hunting down this one Pokemon. Yeah, they're looking for Mewtwo the whole movie for sure. But
Mhm.
like it wasn't too much of that. I don't know how to really express it properly, like on the fly. But
There was one point in the whole movie where like the main kid is like, I hate Pokemon, but like he literally says it like that. Like, I don't like Pokemon, I hate Pokemon. I'm just like, well, dude, you picked the wrong world to live in because this is their world
chose
too.
the wrong
Like
movie.
everyone's got Pokemon here. And no, it was that part was just the one silly thing, but everything else was just like,
And I feel
I-
like the best scene in that entire movie was the Mr. Mime.
oh, absolutely.
Bar
Like
none.
that.
I don't think
they
I've seen
played
a
it up.
funny. I don't think I've seen a part in a movie that funny.
Yeah.
In like a good 5 years, dude.
It was really funny. He's like, no,
That was
no.
so
He's like,
good.
oh my god! And there was an interrogation scene too, which again is
Yeah.
playing off the whole detective thing. It was good, and see that like it worked so well, like it blended so well, and it wasn't just like, oh, this is a cartoon for kids. Like, no, anybody
Yeah.
could have laughed at that.
I still want a part 2, and I want his dad to be Danny DeVito. Detective Pikachu
Pikachu's
should
dad?
have been Danny DeVito.
Oh my god,
That was the one
so
thing-
funny.
Ah, man, dude, how great would
would've-
that have been? Don't get me wrong, right? Like
It would
Ryan Reynolds is
have been
amazing.
great. It would have been great. It was, and that's. I mean, they could have at least had him freaking, directing it. Danny DeVito directed Matilda. Matilda was great. Like, you know what I mean? He could
Yeah.
pull double duty.
Now, I don't have a problem. One of the things is I don't have a problem with westernizing anime. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And the reason for that is because I would prefer, in a perfect world, it to be able to be done in Japan, of course, like 100%.
Mhm.
But some of these companies here in America who are willing to put so much money towards some of these projects, that's just not the same. It's just not the same, and you don't get that kind of effort. And so that's why I'm okay with the westernization of a lot of things. Like you get what I'm saying, right? Like,
We were just talking about a movie the other day that is going to be westernized, and I
What's that?
honestly I can't remember now. Like I can't believe I'm drawing this blank. It was a big anime too, and they're adapting it. It wasn't the My Hero one. The My Hero thing actually gets a pass too because like they've already shown heroes from around the world, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. It's not like they're all from Japan.
yeah, he even visits
Um,
America.
Exactly. That's
That's
part of
what
the first movie.
the first movie, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember, and it's gonna kill me. We were talking about this, and it was like and something that's literally been it wasn't Akira, because I'm pretty sure they'll probably keep the whole Neo Tokyo vibe.
Yeah, well,
like San Francisco.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Big Hero 6 is still, in my opinion, the best Disney movie ever made.
And that, that was a Marvel comic too.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it's like a Neo Tokyo thing, I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, either way, as long as it works, right? As long as it's something that I can watch and enjoy, I'm happy with it. And a lot of people say there is a lot of people who say I don't know why they even decide to make live action anything when it comes to anime. Anime is not designed to be adapted into live action. I think a lot of that has to do with like the willingness to accept it as a live action. For sure. When it comes to Cowboy Bebop, I think in our video before the actual show came out, one of the things we said was in terms of CGI, the good thing about Cowboy Bebop is space is some of the easier CGI to do. Right? I
Oh, how
literally
easy
said
was
this.
it?
I literally said
So-
this before the show came out. And then the show came out, and after episode 3, you get like fucking maybe a couple minutes
Oh
worth
my
of
God.
fucking space CGI.
It was so easy to do CGI that they cut it out. Okay, I just remembered what it was. It wasn't an anime, but it was something from like an Asian territory. It was Train to Busan.
Ah, Train to Busan, yeah.
The
okay.
live action adaptation is called Train to New York.
I was about to say, like, how are you gonna do that one?
Yeah,
Train to
I
Busan,
don't.
set
It
in
doesn't-
America.
Exactly. It doesn't fucking matter, right? Like that's a perfect example of what he means. It's
Yeah.
just like you can westernize that because direction of like the geographical location, it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
because you can do that with the subways are fucking incredibly prevalent in New
Yeah,
York.
everywhere.
That can be the whole thing. The only difference was in that it was like a above ground train, but it doesn't matter. Like you can have so many different cross demographics of people too. Like that only helps their casting out more. And the same thing. It's a zombie movie. You know what I mean? Like, yes, what made Train to Busan so good was the character interactions and what they were dealing with. Beyond the scope of the zombie thing, but obviously the zombie thing was first and foremost. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, what we've seen from like Walking Dead and stuff like that, like it doesn't really matter the location as long as the characters are good.
Yeah.
And again, if it's just going to be an adaptation, we all know how the movie's going to end, so it's not like you have to get overly invested anyway. But again, it's different enough that people who haven't seen it can literally be like, "Oh, this was just another zombie movie," or "Oh, wow, that was a pretty good story. I enjoyed it."
Which is cool in a way, but in another way, I would like. It's hard to say, right? Like, I feel like it's something that should be done within like the marketing for the movie itself. Like, if you're gonna take Train to New York and you're basing it off of Train to Busan, you better fucking mention Train to Busan.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why wouldn't it not just take place within the same time? Or, or at least after, like, oh, maybe somebody got out of Busan and they went to America and they transferred it. Or maybe it was airborne. Like, we don't know. But the thing is, like, you can make it world building. Because even the spinoff or whatever, Peninsula, like, they talked about it. But it was standalone. Like, I don't even think there was, like, maybe one or two characters from the first movie.
Yeah.
But it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you already got out of, unless it's a direct sequel with the same characters, like, why do I care what the people did before me? You know what I mean? Like, what is there something that they discovered that's going to help me out of this zombie infestation? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, the rules are pretty generally the same across the board.
Yeah, and those are some running zombies
Don't
too.
get bit.
Yeah.
Train to Busan was very good, though.
Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of that movie.
It was, and even the character from the main guy from Train to Busan, he ended up being in
Squid Game.
Squid Game. Yeah, he's one of those guys. But
One of the recruiters.
yeah.
But then there was another movie, like right whenever COVID first started, there was a Korean movie that came out. At least I think it was Korean, and it was like
Alive.
Yeah, Alive, where it was called Alive, I think it was, and
Just Alive. That was a good movie. I liked it.
It was good, but then immediately following that, like a couple months later, we get an American version of it, and it's just like, okay,
yeah, Netflix
cool, I
original my
guess.
ass. Yeah. And see, that's the thing I don't like because people will complain about like dubs versus subs, and it's just like, oh, like would you watch a foreign film if it was just overdubbed, or do you want to be one of those people who is ultimately going to have to watch it more than once? Because I read really fucking fast, and there's a lot of stuff that I'll miss too when I'm like trying to read subs and see what's going on. So I mean,
Yeah, no,
I think that
I'm fine with subtitles. Like
yeah.
I watch most of the stuff I watch is probably subbed.
Hmm.
When it comes to like foreign stuff,
Yeah.
obviously the most of the stuff I watch is here American. But if there are a couple things, that I will watch dub, which is always going to be Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't think I'll ever watch Yu Yu Hakusho not dubbed.
Yeah.
The English dub is just way too fucking good for that.
I was actually gonna talk to you about that too, because I don't know if you know this, but whenever they did the Blu-ray, like last year, they went back and redubbed it.
Oh, really?
I'm watching it again on Hulu currently. I'm about halfway through the series, and I've noticed a lot of things that were changed, like even from just the way voices sounded and words and names choose. Like one of them was Suzuka, the beautiful Suzuka, but his actual name is Suzuki. It was just, they didn't want to like have, Suzuki motorcycles sue them in the dub, so they changed his name to Suzuka. And in
It's funny.
the Hulu dub, they changed it back to Suzuki. So that entire round of the Dark Tournament, like his voice, they redubbed it, and all of his dialogue is completely changed. It's weird.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. It's just a little minor. It's a lot of the stuff is minor, like names and stuff like that, but you can tell like the voices are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like with the Yu Yu Hakusho and the One Piece, the way they're coming at these, right? At least the one image I've seen, one image. I hope it's real. Otherwise, I'm basing this entire opinion off of literally nothing. The one image of Yusuke, the guy who's playing Yusuke, I think it was Tokyo Revengers, is the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That means it's Japanese, which is great. It should always be Japanese. It is set in Japan. It should be Japanese. You are able to take a lot of liberties with the demons. They don't have to be Japanese.
Yeah. Who cares?
The only one that does is Toguro and Elder and Younger Toguro, because they're literally, there with Genkai.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're coming at it at least with respect to where geographical location. I mean, there's not really anything to base it on. If you're really looking for, like, in my opinion, the best way for us as the audience to like accept it, as long as it's being respected, as long as you are giving us something that we can watch and say, okay, well, they took what I know and love, and they respected the source material to the point where they were able to change things, for sure, because there are some things that get a lot of changes that are perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
No one has a problem with changes. What we have a problem with is whenever those changes become so minute and so minuscule that why would you even make that change? That has nothing to do with the show itself. That has something to do with your own personal fucking motives, which is really weird.
Exactly.
I find it to be really weird.
Yeah, and it's obvious. It's so obvious, man. Like, again,
like
this
with
is not trying to
like with the Perot thing, right? Like, the whole idea of changing it to Ein, right? Because this is the part that really upset me the most about the Perot episode. Ein barked, Perot flipped out, and they were able to escape, right?
Mm.
In the show, Spike was dead. He was dead to rights.
Mm.
The cat meowing was happenstance.
Yeah.
In the live action, Ein being there was less coincidental because they owned Ein.
Yep.
So it wasn't a random thank fucking my lucky stars that this cat meowed. It was, oh, Ein was here. Well, good thing that I own Ein and he would be here.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
Yeah, no, there's two things I want to say about that. Because one, whenever they show him like locked in like the facility or whatever, they're like, oh, he hates dogs. Like they tell you that as the audience. And then you look on the wall and there's like tons of dogs in cages and like half of them are corgis. So it's kind of like, did Iron come here? And also, why would
Yeah.
you keep a demented serial killer across from a cage full of dogs? It doesn't make any sense. And two, it kind of reminded me of like the whole mummy thing, like the one with Brendan Fraser, where he's like, oh, he fears cats, and so they like, oh, look what I got, and he just pulls out the cat, and then he just gets scared and like goes away. And it was just like it just seemed like too convenient, and it was
Well,
ridiculous.
Yes. At least with the mummy thing, right? It was founded in some kind of like historical lore.
Exactly, yeah.
But
Like we
like,
understand mythology.
yeah, but but in that, it's so weird. Like, I don't know. It's like someone sat there and said, well, how about we just get rid of the cat idea in general and just make it Ein?
Yeah, right. Like we don't. I waste money on two
I
animals.
I like your thought process. Someone get him a fucking pencil, Like, get the fuck
Exactly.
out of here, dude. Like, I
feel
just
like
don't
it's
even
like
know what to think about that kind of shit,
you don't trust your audience to be intelligent enough to understand it.
It's just so weird. But that's my thing, right? Is Spike was dead to rights. Pierrot was going to kill Spike. And if it wasn't for just a random fucking occurrence, Spike would have been dead. End of story, right? That's not how it was in the show. But I mean, that's just, I don't know. Again, I find it hard not to go back and complain because it's so fucking upsetting. But yeah, at least coming at the source material with a monicum, with at least the smallest amount of respect is all you need to do. That's all you need to do. How can Peter Jackson go and make Lord of the Rings the way he did, and even make The Hobbit as good as it was, despite being prolonged to three movies, three very long movies, even so long that they have extended editions as well. But how could Peter Jackson have done so fucking good with the Lord of the Rings series? I'll tell you why. Because he fucking loved the Lord of the Rings, and it reflects in the work that's being shown.
It's crazy too because people were like, oh, you're just trying to make like a fan dream come true or whatever, fan service. So like, dude, there's nothing wrong with being a fan when you understand the assignment and you're putting passion and dedication into something versus somebody who's literally looking at this product like, oh, the fans will eat this up. It's a paycheck to them. Like the whole thing with Yu Yu Hakusho, was presenting himself as a completely Japanese cast. And even if it's not even dubbed with the English like voice track, if it's just like subbed out, then that's fine by me. Like to me, I'm looking at this as a live action adaptation, not something that's being Americanized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm okay with because, bro, as far as I'm concerned, from what we're seeing from One Piece, it's absolutely 100% being Americanized. Like even whenever the cast were saying hello, they were all saying it in English. And yeah, there was clearly like some people who might not have been like English as a first language, but they're at least speaking English. So to me, that's basically them saying that like, yeah, we're gonna have this as an English speaking cast and it's all gonna be like speaking English. Now with the Yu Yu Hakusho, it's an all Japanese cast and they're all speaking Japanese or whatever, and then it comes with subtitles or even like an overdub later. And I don't see a problem with that as long as like the production is it's well done and it looks all right. My only issue with
No, go ahead. Your only issue?
my only issue was what they tried to do with Cowboy Bebop was changing so much about it, and then saying like, oh, we're all speaking English, whatever. Like, okay, that's fine. Like, nobody ever really said that this is all going to take place over like nobody in fucking Cowboy Bebop speaks like an alien language. You know what I mean? Like the people who live in Neptune, the people who live in Mars, all that. There's like
they're all within the solar system.
Exactly. So it's not like we're saying like this is a completely different world from us. So does the life exist beyond the stars?
But what I'm more concerned about is, right, like episode 1 of One Piece. What I'm going to be looking for, and I know this is well off, but one of the things that is, at least in my opinion, really hard to get right in CGI and video games is water.
No part of that show is gonna be filmed on the water. I promise you that.
And isn't that gonna be like, just thinking about it, right? Like,
that sucks. Absolutely.
It's gonna be
It is a seafaring island to island show. They're pirates.
Half the show takes place on the fucking water.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, oh my god.
I don't even know what to say about that, but
there's an arc called Water 7 for God's sakes. Like Jesus, that's gonna suck. Yeah.
Just like, thinking about it, like.
Dude.
Now that we have like Cowboy Bebop and half the show takes place literally in space,
And
It's gonna be like this really dumb montage of them like getting ready to set sail, and then just gonna be like, "Oh man, we
same
got out
thing
of that
every
one."
single
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be like the the cut and paste scene changes. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's terrible.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, you've because now it's been brought out in the open. Like it would have been fine staying up here, and that's like no, now it's real.
Well, that's what I
Give it
mean.
shape.
Is like, how much money do you plan on putting towards this fucking series? You're gonna have to put a fucking lot. And like,
Not enough to make
like
sure all these people can swim.
we're watching Wheel of Time right now on Amazon,
Amazon.
and I'll say this about Wheel of Time. Have you watched it at all?
I haven't watched it at all.
Okay.
I've heard so much like things about it though.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of. Here's the thing, right? I'll keep it really simple. What
I don't
it
know
does,
if I'll watch it. I'll be honest with you. Unless it's something that we
fair.
end up talking about, well, I probably won't watch it.
what they do well is they have some absolutely lovely scenery. The cinematographer, whoever the fuck is in charge of like getting
They
the
film it in New
backgrounds
Zealand?
right, they nailed it. No, I think it's
And
I forget where it's at, but it's beautiful. Absolutely
Mhm.
beautiful. And some of the CGI actually looks pretty damn good. So my thought is, in regards to like a Lord of the Rings series on Amazon Prime, it
Yeah.
gives me some hope. You know what I mean? It gives me some hope, and I'm looking forward to seeing what can be done, because Wheel of Time. I won't say anything because I would prefer you actually watch it before I actually talk to you about it, but it looks wise, they do a pretty good job. I'll say that. I can't say the same for anything I've seen on Netflix. They tend to kind of, I guess, take like a cutting corners approach to a lot of shit.
Yeah, I know. I
And
know a lot of stuff that Netflix is filmed up in Canada too, so I know like production costs are really cheap up there.
yeah, like this one right here,
Vancouver.
right? Like this headline right here. Everyone hated it, so Netflix canceled Cowboy Bebop. That is literally how it should go. Right?
Yeah.
That's
If
why
people don't
things
like
should
it,
be
why the fuck
canceled.
would you keep it on there? Exactly.
Fucking duh. Like, what are you fucking saying? I guess we can't have anything that people don't like because people just hate it. Well, yeah, fucking duh.
Nobody came into this with a mentality being like, man, I hope this fucking sucks. I hope it's like the worst thing ever so they can cancel it.
Yeah.
You just happened to watch it and it wasn't very good and then they canceled it. Like,
And then to all the people who say like anime is not it's not designed for live action, it's just not designed to be adapted, or anyone saying the anime or just in general nothing should be put into live action. What about all of the fucking success stories in the past? You have Lord of the Rings, which Return of the King is one of the absolute most fucking glorified movies of all time. Like,
yeah.
you have amazing stories from the past that were adapted from books and TV and animation. Like,
And
just because this
wouldn't
is
say
near and
video
dear to your
games
heart.
to a lesser I
Exactly.
wouldn't say video games to a lesser extent, but like I mean even speaking of something like Star Wars, that goes like backwards and it started live action and they went into higher success with their animated series. And then you see even on the small string still finding that success with something like Mandalorian. But it's just like, the movies have not been good as of late, but it's like you find that niche that it really works with and then you go all in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I felt like, I definitely felt like this was never going to be designed as a single series show. Like they wanted to put so much confidence in themselves, and then whenever they saw it was kind of like teetering off, they're like, okay, well let's make a cliffhanger, blah blah blah, and really draw people in to want that season 2.
Yeah.
Like literally, I just read a headline here, and it says Cowboy Bebop writer says fans are missing out canceling the show with season 2 plans. I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the world. But
Who's sitting there making a fuss? Oh man, I wanted a season 2. Nobody's doing that shit. It's not happening.
you're gonna see again, and I understand the irony with what we're doing, and we're gonna put this video out, and you guys can watch it, you can comment. We always want that dialogue with y'all, regardless. And I'm sure you're gonna see it from other channels as well. Like a lot of people are gonna be, hitting this with like, God, they might be coming from a more positive place. It might be coming from a strictly negative place. We're trying to find that middle ground where we understand why things fail, what could have been done better. You know what I mean? And it'll probably be in the news cycle, for the next couple of weeks. But the most important thing, at least for me personally, was just seeing what could be done to prevent this from happening again with Netflix. Later shows, with your Avatar, with your One Piece, with your Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, I don't personally believe that all adaptations are doomed to fail. I believe that if it's done right, if it's done with the right, direction and mindset, and again, like you said, paying homage and the respect that the original series has, it can be successful.
Well, mostly because, right? Like, why would you even make something that you didn't respect? Why would you take a story that you think is going to be worth making into a live action version and intentionally not show it that respect? Why would you even do that? Because you have a proven track record that says, hey, people love this, not what you have in your mind about it, but people love this. So why would you even touch it without showing that respect? You get what I'm saying? Like, what would be the point of even making it if you weren't going to at least follow some kind of path in regards to it? It just seems like such a weird decision.
No, absolutely. It's like you made it to spite people. Like, why would you spend millions of dollars and the weeks and months of preparation and recording and the editing process? Like, why would you do that? Like, we're gonna change everything we can. People are gonna hate it. They're gonna have to deal with like, and I see that's the thing too. Like, I hate when people say, "Oh, this and this and this, it happened. Deal with it." It's like, no. Why should I? Like, like, why does my opinion not matter? Like, why do I have to accept this for what it is? Like, I shouldn't be. And see, that's the thing. Like, cancellation is literally the epitome of saying, no, I don't accept it for what it is. It wasn't.
But not just you.
It should be canceled. Yeah, but it's just crazy. Like, there's this like ridiculous mentality that something has to be celebrated even if it's mediocre.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
I personally, I don't agree with that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
fuck
if you
that. I'm totally against that.
If you want to call something quality, then have the quality to back it up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, in fact, I'm for the exact opposite. If something's bad, it should be mentioned that it's bad, because how else, what other form do we have to communicate directly with these, with Hollywood, with these people who are forcing these things out upon us? What other method of communication do we have without actually speaking, either one, speaking out against that, or not spending your money? Like, there's really no other way for us to speak to these people. So fuck that. No, I'm gonna absolutely make sure that I speak my piece, because at the end of the day, I don't want shit force fed to me. I don't want things that are just, why are you spending money on all this stupid shit that's not working out? Like, aren't you the fucking people who are supposed to know better?
Yeah. Like, where are your checks and balances, basically? Like, if you're gonna just like not see the finished product and be like, well, shit, they already made it, there's nothing we can do, let's go start it out there. And like, Netflix's whole like trending system, like, you saw it left. First of all, it hadn't even been like a full month before it was canceled. It came out like second week of
the 17th, right?
Yeah, so like less than 3 weeks. For that first week, it was like, I don't know, like 7, something like that, ranking on 10. It fell out there. The viewership of that show dropped 59% in its second week. Like, nobody was there rewatching that. Okay, like, I'm just saying. Like, it's crazy. Like, and people are like, oh, so and so review bombed this and review bombed that. Like, dude, like, when those official reviews came out, across the board, they were still low. And I know that they did grow as the show went on, like, over the last few weeks. but it topped out at like 54-55%, something like that.
Yeah.
And
And on Google, it's like 79%, which is
yeah, it's crazy because people try to make the same argument with like whole Eternals thing, and it was still like, it was the lowest rated MCU movie. Like, I don't understand why people think that just because something is bad, there has to be like this, or like, oh, it's only bad because these people, they reviewed bombs, this and that. Like, sometimes you gotta, accept that something just didn't work out, and just,
like
you know,
Sandy
you
Inc.
you yeah, like you gotta you gotta live with that, man. Like, you gotta understand that. You gotta understand that, and you can't keep making excuses. Like, oh, the target audience was never like the fans. The fans burdened us with this
Yeah.
impossible standards, yada yada yada. Like, okay, dude. Like, even speaking specifically for Phase
Burdened
actor,
us with impossible
dude.
standards.
Yeah, like she was like talking shit to the fans the entire way out there. Like,
Yeah,
oh, this
dude, that's the
big
thing. Like,
shit-eating grin. Like, oh, I
hey,
told you
we
so.
have a
Like,
problem
no.
with you. We have a problem with your casting. We have a problem with a couple of the decisions being made with your character. Well, fuck you.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
well, fuck you too. Like,
Yeah, like
come
your
on.
show is bad and you got canceled for it. Like that stupid freaking the GIF where everyone keeps on throwing around, where it's just like, "Oh, welcome to the pain, motherfucker," something like
Oh
that.
my,
Something
welcome to the
so
ouch.
yeah, welcome
Welcome
to
to
the
the
outside. Like that's
ouch.
so, like, do you really think that's something that Faye Valentine would ever say?
Whoever
No,
wrote that line deserves to be fired forever
just
from
no.
anything that could potentially even remotely be made for television, whatever the fuck. Just fire them
I think,
completely.
yeah, exactly. I
That is a
think that
stupid fucking decision.
they're gonna just try and like scrub their their resumes for like the rest of their, like, oh, were you in that one show? Like, nope, sure wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then of course John Cho's response was, it was the Tom Selleck, right? I'm okay.
Mm,
And I'm like, yeah, because you got paid, man.
yeah.
It's kind of like the Conor McGregor thing, right? Like Conor McGregor,
Yeah.
like every time he comes out talking shit and all this kind of stuff, acting big and bad, I'm gonna beat the fuck out you, that kind of stuff, and then he gets his shit
Yeah.
knocked in, and you're just like,
Mhm.
okay, cool, man. And then he goes to Twitter and he's like, well, I'll come back bigger and better next time, and that kind of shit.
How many
And you're
times has
just
he
like,
retired? Like a million?
all right, man, just shut the fuck
Like,
up.
even like the whole big thing with like the whole Mayweather thing was so ridiculous. It was just a dumb fight. But it was still like, how much they probably made like $50 million each off of that. Like, it's so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that's what I mean though. Is like he
Yeah.
comes out, talks some shit, gets paid, and just goes, fucks off for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's more like you're paying to see the personality than you are the athlete.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
and that's what I mean is like, John Cho, cool, man. Happy that you got paid. Don't be super thrilled to have done this. I mean, I wouldn't be. I'd be kind of
Yeah,
disappointed.
don't be the guy that talks about this for like the next 2 years about like, oh yeah, I was part of this big program that could have been something. Like, did move on.
Well, it
find
could
better
have been
script.
something, and that's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, even with John Cho, even with this entire cast, it could have actually done well, but decisions were made. Like, come the fuck
Yeah.
on.
even towards the last episode, which again, I think for me, even more so than the first episode, the last episode definitely was the most disappointing. But I was holding on, just like maybe there's gonna be that one big like thing that really pulls it together, and it just didn't, and it was saddening. But the thing is, like, I think John Cho will probably come out of this for the better. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
probably he'll find like more passion projects for himself. Like, maybe go back into like movies, or maybe there'll be another foray into television. There was that one show he was in like a few years ago. It was called Selfie. It was part of like the first Asian male-driven show, and it was canceled. Things happen, but you could tell, like, watching him and his characters, like, the guy definitely has he has leading man chops. Like, he can do it.
Of course.
Just you got to find that right project that works.
It's so weird, man. Like, I never even thought we'd be in this position, to be completely honest. But
I agree.
In your opinion, right? Like, what's some things that has to be done, right? Like, what's the things that have to be done for it to be right?
I mean, first and foremost, casting, and since ships have sailed on that, pun intended, I think you gotta walk the walk. If you're not looking the part, you gotta walk the walk, man. You gotta have these characters be those characters. I'm not talking about like some ridiculously blown out of proportion caricature, but like symbolize what those are. You gotta have that utmost respect, and the writing has to be there. If you're gonna, if you're planning this out on a number of arcs or seasons, come forward with that. Don't have us think like, oh, you're gonna jam 50 100 episodes into 10 episodes and that weren't even going to be an hour long, because the pacing is gonna, like, whenever you see something from a manga to an anime, the pacing is already all over the place because you're trying to adapt as many chapters as you can to an episode. When you're trying to take in a thousand episode anime and shove that into 1-2 seasons, like, there's a crazy amount of the pacing's.
That's the thing, right? Is like, where the fuck are they going with that? I have no fucking clue. And to be completely honest, I'm far more worried about that one than I am YuYu Hakusho.
Absolutely. I think YuYu Hakusho, you could put it a little bit more down to earth, like, and it'll be all right. But the thing is, like, all right, let me just put it this way. One Piece has only announced 5 characters up into Sanji, which makes me think that they're going to go up to the East Blue. That's where the first season, quote unquote, ends. After that, they have a very difficult decision to make because Luffy might be made out of rubber, but he's still a human. You got Zoro, human. Nami's a human. Usopp's a human. Sanji's a human. The 6th member of the Straw Hat is a fucking reindeer.
Yep.
He's a reindeer who has eaten the human fruit, giving him the properties of human, including a human-like form. But he is first and foremost a reindeer. So either heavy CGI.
It's gonna be a little boy with little reindeer ears or antlers. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. It's gonna be like that Horn movie on freaking Netflix. Either that, or they're just gonna cut his character, which is gonna be ridiculous because he's their doctor. And I could see them taking the easy way out and just cutting the character. But even then, you got Robin. Frankie's a damn cyborg. Rook's a skeleton. So again, unless they want to like paint up somebody like he's in the Black Parade, I don't know how that's gonna go.
Star Trek does enough with their fucking practical effects, their makeup artists and all that. Just do some fucking makeup. Don't sit there and give me some fucking shitty CGI. Don't underdo it and just put a little fucking kid with reindeer antlers. Just do some fucking practical effects. Why does nobody want to fucking do this anymore?
Nobody wants to do the work. Exactly. They don't want to do the work when it comes to making something that's considered art. And I know a lot of people always get upset with the first Suicide Squad movie, which admittedly was terrible, but it still won the Academy Award for practical effects and makeuping and all that. And there was like all these other movies that it was a big year for practical effects. But the thing is, like, they still did that. You know what I mean? They still had enough of a makeup talented visual effects artist, a team that could put these characters to life. And I think, like, man, like, if you never want to show Chopper use his powers, go to his full form or whatever, and you just want to like CGI the hell of it, fine. But it's like, that is definitely gonna be the thing that
there's
like
some concerns for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like we already talked about. I mean, even if you want to ignore the whole characters, the water thing is a huge part of what the world, man. Like they're fucking pirates.
Yep.
And
that's the thing that's been like on my mind is like, it's not easy to get those shots. Like it's not. I mean, in my opinion, the best like seafaring movie that's ever been is Master and Commander.
It's a good movie.
It's a fucking amazing movie, but the production value of that movie is fucking massive.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much they're getting per episode. I have no fucking clue. But if you're gonna tell me it's gonna be on the level of Master Commander, then I'm not believing that. Like, come on.
See, the over reliance on CGI isn't terrible when it's done in a way like Avatar, like that whole entire movie. But like even the budget from Arcane, which was reportedly around 90 million to 100 million, that's over 90 episodes, and the whole thing is fucking animated.
Yeah.
But I mean, couldn't do that same thing to One Piece. You know what I mean? Because I mean, if you're gonna make it animated, it's just the anime. So you can't just have like the one character talking to everybody else. Yeah, you can't just have the one character talking to everybody and it's like, oh, well, I'm the animated character. Nobody get in front of my green screen.
Yeah, no, it's far harder to manage all of that in a live action, of course. Absolutely.
I mean, are they gonna make him end up being like Rocket Raccoon? And see, that's the thing. Like, you need a gigantic budget for that. Which
Yeah.
I'm not saying One Piece doesn't warrant it, because it definitely does. But
But
it's
it's not
like,
going to have that.
exactly, like Netflix isn't gonna give them that. Like,
Just might as well go with practical effects, dude. Like it's like I said, right? Like you have these seasons and seasons of Star Trek series. Like these people
Yeah,
went
I mean-
through so much makeup sessions
they
for you
still
to
do,
sit
like,
there
they
and now say, "Well, we're not doing makeup. We just do CGI everything."
Yeah, like, dude,
Come
like,
on,
they still
man.
make Star Wars. There's like probably like 6 Star Wars shows going on right now. Like, it's crazy. Or Star Trek too.
Yeah, and I watch every single one of them, and I have no problem accepting those characters the way that they're done up with makeup, even in the shitty makeup from the '60s series. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with those. Why? Because they didn't have any better. They didn't have any
Yeah.
better, and I can understand that. I can
Still
watch
tried.
something. Exactly. I can watch something. At least, the perfect example is there's a show on Amazon Prime. It is like it's not a Japanese. It's like a Chinese stage play of like the journey to the West,
Okay.
and it's awful. The CGI is terrible. Like the acting is subpar. It's not really supposed to be fantastic, because it's like a stage play. But I watch it because these people believe in it, and I'm like, fine, right? Like I can watch it. These people are sitting here. They love it. They love doing it. I can tell by the work that's being done. The story is at least it's engaging. Like it's good stuff, but it's not high quality, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be high quality, but it does have to be respectful of the content. Because if you're not respecting your own fucking content, what are you doing making the fucking thing?
Yeah.
Like,
If you don't respect it, how do you expect somebody else to? You know
exactly.
What I mean?
And then get pissed off at us for not
Exactly. Like,
respecting
you
your
can't,
disrespect. Fuck it. Silly stuff.
you can't. Yeah, you can't just deny your audience the fact to have a voice whenever you took what they were expecting, or even what they understood to be the product, and just completely change it into something else. And I don't understand how somebody can look through that lens and come out the other side and just be like,
Nailed it.
pretty good.
Yeah, I think we did all right.
Yeah.
Let's just move on to the interviews.
Paradise Lost, found it.
Found it.
Oh man, it's just it's a silly time for silly people.
That's how I feel though, is if you're going to approach these things, you got to approach it with the respect for the original content. Why would you even touch it if you didn't respect the original content to begin with?
Yeah, it's a different lens, man. Like even watching a play, like, you're not going to be like, oh, where's the lights and sounds? Like, the effects that you will see from that are going to be from stagecraft. Like, it's crazy.
And then the second, and I think the second most important part is getting the actual actors that are going to be able to portray these characters. Not caring so much that the story exists from the 90s or before, when most of these stories were like YuYu Hakusho. Like we talked in the one of the previous videos. It's for boys.
Yeah,
it's for boys. There doesn't need to be a girl. Not that there doesn't need to be a girl in TV, but this show is not about that. This show is about 2 high school boys, another high school boy who is half demon, and then a demon. Like, it has nothing to do with the dynamics between male and female. It has nothing to do with that. There's absolutely no need whatsoever to touch it. No need.
Absolutely.
In fact, one of the strongest characters for the first half of the series is female. Right? And then, of course, at the end, right, one of the main characters he goes to seek, support from is a female. One of the previous detectives, she was a female. Like, they do
one of the 3 fucking kings, the strongest.
Yes, exactly.
One of the strongest characters in the entire series is
if
a
not
female.
the strongest. She could very well have been the strongest, minus Ryzen at full power. But
and
the thing is, it has nothing to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with that. They show a fair respect to both genders. They show a fair respect to
everything in that series. So I don't want to see that touched whatsoever in regards to anything that's like a current actual issue within the context of our real world.
Yeah, absolutely.
The moment it touches that, I'm fucking out. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to touch it whatsoever. The good thing about it being made in Japan, though, is odds are it's not going to be touched by that. And that is lovely to know.
Yeah.
That is
absolutely.
just lovely. And then number 3. Do not come at me like you are a creative genius. And do not sit here and fucking tell me that you as a fan are going to like this because we really wouldn't capture the heart and soul. No, I don't want to hear that. I don't wanna fucking
pretend
hear
like
that,
your
dude.
Audience is stupid. Yeah, that
Yes.
shit. Hey, don't talk down to me like, oh no, it's better this way. No, it's not, because if it was better this way, it wouldn't have been canceled.
And
If it's better the way that it was because it existed, it was already proven
Yeah.
to be successful.
and you're remaking it because it's successful.
Absolutely.
And part of that is, if you've made a decision, stick with it. Don't let your fucking dumbass actor get online and start combating the fucking fandom, because that's only going
Yeah.
to turn out in your show getting fucking canceled. Duh.
So
Like, why
it's
do you
better
even?
for the changing times. Like, no, it doesn't. It takes place in 2072. They're fine with it. Get over it.
Well, not the live action.
Oh yeah, right.
It takes
Like,
place a
even
whole
further.
100 years beyond that. They even changed when the show took place, dude. Like,
I don't think
didn't
we're gonna be able to
make
get there
any
in 50 years.
sense. Oh my god, man.
It'll make
But-
it more believable if we jump it a couple notches.
But don't allow your actors to literally come on and argue against the fandom, because that's literally that's downgrading your show. Like,
For bread and
how
butter,
do you
man.
not see this? It's when you're supposed to be the most respectful of the content that you're making. Dude, all the mistakes that were made for this fucking series.
Like, you gotta
is
think about it too.
ridiculous.
Like, even Marvel, DC, whenever they would go to like Comic-Con and stuff like that, and like the fans would be like, "What?" You know, like, and it'd be all they're sitting there beaming with pride, all this.
yeah,
My knowledge, they never fucking went to Comic-Con because it
Mm-mm.
would have been a bad scene for them.
yeah. Game of
And-
Thrones last season, man.
Oh yeah,
There's only one reason you don't show up, and that's because people hated your product.
Yep.
I mean, because if you're
Maybe
proud of
they
it,
wanted
if you're
to.
proud of it, you're gonna go out and talk about it, even
Absolutely.
if it was upsetting. That's the thing that kills me, right? Is even if
Yeah.
it was upsetting to the fandom, even if nobody liked it, you as a creator, if you believed in it that much, you would still show up and answer questions.
Yeah.
But you didn't. So that tells me everything I need to know. Everything I need to know. You're sitting there, oh man, like, well, you're gonna miss out on a good season 2. Well, you should have given me a good season 1, dick.
yeah, right. Like, why are you pinning your hopes on like the future? Like, it's the now. Like, make the season that I want to watch. The
Jesus,
season
dude.
2. The golden rule, man. The golden rule. You know,
And I
you treat
only
others-
feel bad for that kid playing for Eden Perkins, the one who's playing
Yeah.
Ed. I only feel bad for that person because, again, right, like, it might not have been the best Ed, and of course it's like the most cringy moment of the entire series for sure.
Can't
But
deny that. Nobody can defend that.
But for it to come crashing down like so quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
again, I fucking know it. Now that I said it earlier, dude, I would not be surprised if they were like, oh, maybe we should hurry up and get like a quick scene of Ed filmed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Didn't even have enough with the dog. Weren't forget
Dude.
about it. Like, it was ridiculous.
Fuck, man. Like, anyways, yeah, I think that's gonna be it.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, consider liking the video. Also, make sure you're subscribed to be considered in our giveaways. We'll hold them routinely as our subscriber goals are met. This has been The Shit Take. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy, and we hope to see you next time.